Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round number 2 of the Touring Car Challenge here on iRacing. My name is Connery Medic, and I'm joined for this week only by the ever wonderful Mr. Paul Smith as we head to Fife in Scotland for one of the more famous touring car circuits on any calendar. We head to Knockhill here, Paul. This is the one that a lot of people have been waiting for.
Yes, good evening everybody. It is certainly quite a challenging circuit, but it's so much fun to run laps around here. There's plenty of opportunities for overtaking as well. I was racing around here last night, and yeah, I was throwing moves at pretty much every corner, so anyone who says it's hard to overtake here is a liar.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. It is, well, it's a racetrack where you get a lot of door rubbing, a lot of side-by-side racing. That is very, very typical, especially in the types of cars that we're racing here today as well. Last week at Spa-Francorchamps, well, we had Audi action from the front of the field down to the back of the field. Things are a little different here today at Knockhill for round number 2. It seems like we have representation from all 3 different types of TCRs that we have in iRacing now. So yes, we have 2 Audis out there. We even have a handful of Civics, but the vast majority of the field, Paul, have gone with the Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah, the Hyundai, it certainly deals with the curbs really well around here. It's so stable is this car, and with the way that you have to throw the car over some of these curbs, especially thinking at the chicane. I mean, we'll look there, that's George Simmons who's making his way around right down to the point where I'm talking about, the chicane here. It's a unique line that you have to take, but you look at how flat that car handles that chicane. You will not see the Honda take that same line because it really is bouncy on the rear suspension. The Audi, it can deal with it a little bit as well, but this Hyundai really seems to suit this track really well.
It really does. And, well, you can see George Simmons coming towards the end of a lap right now, coming up across the start-finish line. Of course, it's less than a minute to get yourself around, well, not across the start-finish line for George Simmons. He hits down the pit lane. But either way, it is sub-minute in terms of lap times here. We're actually getting down towards 51 seconds as the faster times here at the moment. Kira Wolf currently pole position provisionally with only 30 seconds left of the qualifying session. Of course, they do have limited a number of laps to run as well. For the drivers that have not set qualifying times just yet, Ben Cullen, Jamie Petters, and we've got Daniel Chandler down at the very bottom of the order as well. Everyone else, 16 cars, have been able to set themselves qualifying times here at Knockhill, and that's going to be the end of the session right here and right now here, Paul. So the qualifying grid is set, and we'll get to it in just a moment.
Yeah, Kerry Wolf, Will Redford, George Simmons, those 3, they are so good in these TCR cars. Absolutely tremendous to see them up at the front. But never say never, there's quite a few others that can come through the field as well.
Here we go then, there's the starting grid then for this evening's race. Happy Christmas Eve everyone as well, by the way. You forgot to mention that at the top of the show. Kira Wolf pole position with Will Redford second on the starting grid, with George Simmons in third, Lander De Potter in P4, with Blake Neck starting in 5th. We've got Christian Wolf starting in 6th place here today, with Niels Oosterhoef in P7. Neil Ferrier in P8 with Tyler Maxson, our very own, of course, producer here at RaceSpotTV as well, P number 9. Wan Xilin in P10 with Andre Pacheco in P11. Emilio Lago in P12 here today. Michael Johnson will start 13th with Kevin Evans in 14th. Ian Manners in P15 with Gabriel Cuzzo in P16. P17 goes to Ben Cullen, Jamie Perez in P18. As the drivers that have not set qualifying times, Daniel Chandler will round out the very end of the starting grid here today, Paul. So it's going to be 19 cars getting themselves to the start here as we wait for the rest of the runners to get themselves onto that starting grid.
Now, if you're not on the front 2 rows of the grid, you are starting with an uphill grid, so it really affects your launch off of the line. So this is a tricky track to get a good start on, but never say never. I mean, I did it last night. I went 3 wide on the outside into turn 1, and amazingly, we all made it through. So you can have clean racing here.
Here we go then. round number 2 of the Touring Car Challenge, the official series here on iRacing for TCR Sprint action, about to get itself underway with green here at Knockhill for the first time. Someone sluggish off the start there as the green flag waves on the way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Kira Wolf has been able to get away very well at the very front of the field, ahead of Will Redford. Battle for third between George Simmons and DePotter. DePotter gets disposed of. There's a bit of contact behind though. Blakeneck gets into him, but DePotter's able to hold on.
Yeah, they're very well held, is that actually. And Neck, he just stayed back, allowed him to have that. There's a big moment for one of the Hyundais. That's the 13 car. My goodness, that's not the line that you want to take there, Christian. As Tyler Maxson around the outside then in his resplendent in his Team Mad livery. Yes, I am biased, everyone. But yeah, Christian Wolf well held over the chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you can do in these TCR cars. They're relatively easier to save than some other cars on the iRacing service, as they'll head their way through the final corner of the Taylor's hairpin at the very end of the lap. And now it's this straight run all the way across the start-finish line. There's another position lost there. Oosterhoef getting himself by. I think Wolf has gotten himself a slowdown penalty here that he has to serve, and he's got a swarm of cars behind him, all trying to squeeze their way through.
Oh, this is tremendous stuff. This mid-pack will be fast, frenetic. They're all going to be desperate to try and get ahead of each other as they go through the chicane.
Oh, Max.
Again, Maxson's off. He's taken the wrong line. He's probably tried to cut too much. And before you know it, it sends you off into the gravel there. So Maxson, I think he only lost one spot in all of that, though.
Yeah, let's take another look at it from Maxson's perspective. He's got a couple of cars fighting up ahead of him. He gets up over the curb. Still not a problem here. It's going to be when he comes over the top of the hill. Oh, he goes for a diver on the outside and just gets shoved out a little bit.
Tyler, I think that's a little bit of inexperience there around Knockhill. You can't really go too wide through the chicane there.
Yeah, it is.
Oh!
Yeah.
Launches over the curb. He almost taking flight there was Tyler. Meanwhile, Kira Wolf, I said that Kira was quick in TCRs, is trying to run away from Will Redford and George Simmons. They're battling away, and that's going to allow Kira to pull away.
Yeah, Kira's doing very, very well here. Gets about a second advantage over the next closest competitor. That's Redford, and well, Redford's having to deal with George Simmons looking his way down the inside here. Redford completely bails out of the corner there at Taylor's, and that's the position gained by George Simmons up into second place. But can any of them do anything about Wolf, who's continuing to pull away in the race lead?
But taking that wide line through Taylor's gives you a really good run down towards Duffer's Dip, which is this right-hander here. It's a really steep downhill into Leslie's and then onto the brakes again into the right-hander here. So, yeah, these drivers, they're going to be just absolutely focused. You've got to keep your concentration up around here. There's not a minute of this track that you can relax at. But George, he's going for it, is Simmons. He's trying to now take the fight to Wolf.
Yeah, the gap did extend rather briefly up to about 1.3 seconds, down to 1.2 already. But, however, this is a very, very short race here, Paul. We've only got about 11 minutes to go. It's going to take quite an effort to surmount this gap. Of course, you do have the tail end of the relatively weak slipstream that these TCR cars have, which will help down this front straight. But it's going to have to all be done through the corners here. Yeah,
and it's incredible how much time you can gain through the corners here. And well, basically this track is nothing but corners here, just a couple of shortish straights really, but yeah, you can really make up so much time around here. Is Oosterhoef then in that very unique paint livery as Maxson now putting the pressure on. You can get a run out of that chicane and go down the inside into this right-hander if you get the good run. If not, get in the slipstream. This is where you feel the slipstream the most, is down towards the hairpin.
Yeah, it is, and well, Maxson going to angle to the inside at the hairpin, slides along underneath, and well, not clear by the exit of the corner. Oosterhoef able to get a little bit of a run off here, so we'll gain a little bit of time back on the way across this front straight here. Starting to fall in behind now, still has that overlap though for turn number 1. Now Maxson is clear, and he's able to maintain the position, or rather gain the position through Duff's Dip, and then in towards McIntyre. He's pretty safe as well. So good overtake there from Maxson. Now you can push on forwards after that instant in the early going.
that is a classic move around here at Knockhill, into the hairpin and then get the run out of it. That lead gap has closed up, by the way. It's now 0.6 of a second, so you know, Simmons is on an absolute charge. Now, I think they've just made their way past some lap traffic, and I think that's what's held up Wolf in all of this.
Yeah, I think so too. And, well, Simmons has done his utmost to try and close in this gap and is continuing to do a fantastic job of it. There is Redford dealing with the little piece of traffic that had trouble early on, and that is Andre Pacheco, I believe, who had to, at some point in this race, come down on towards pit lane, perhaps to get some damage repaired. But he is back out there, and, well, there aren't that many situations that are pretty easy for the lap traffic around here, apart from maybe coming down that front straight.
Out of this corner as well, through Railway down into Odds Taylor's is another place where you can move over, but the rest of the time you're just trying to find that little slot to just go through quickly if you can. The front two still similar times. I mean, I'm looking at the lap times. They're running pretty similar times. A 51.5 from Wolf, a 51.5 for Simmons, just 0.02 of a second difference between the two of them. So it shows how evenly paced these two are, and these two are two of the best TCR drivers on the service at the moment.
Indeed they are, and what is characteristic of this circuit is Simmons, well, almost at the, well, crossing the limit of the track limits there, and well,
I made a mistake there.
Yeah, but I was about to say it's characteristic of this track. You know, it's so famous for its high curves, where it's the cars just has launch and get themselves up over two wheels through some of them, and it's well, I like how that's been faithfully recreated here in iRacing.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, I on the build day. It was a case of I sat there whilst two of the iRacing staff from the broadcast side of things were watching me do laps on Discord, and they'd never seen the track, and I instantly, as soon as I went out on track, I knew exactly what lines I needed to take. Because look at that, just flying over the chicane there. But I knew which lines to take straight away. I've watched the British touring cars around here for 30 years, and these drivers, they're getting a brilliant representation of this magnificent circuit. I know Peter Mackay is very happy about this.
Yeah, and I bet if he's watching, then, well, he would have wished he would be able to commentate on this, and he would have gotten the call up instead of you, Paul. But there we go. 7 minutes left remaining of this race. That race lead gap still coming down bit by bit, so we might get ourselves a bit of a great fight for the race lead here in a couple of moments. Maxon's on the move once again, though, as Neil Ferrier falls in behind him, and was that a little bit of contact, or was that a telling off wiggle from Maxon?
Either way, it was close, but Maxon, he was doing a couple of races last night, actually, was Tyler, so he's been getting his eye in around here, and the young man from Georgia certainly doing a sterling job behind the wheel of the Hyundai. But then again, I would expect that of a Hyundai junior driver from last year. Yeah,
of course. Not exactly in this car. It is his main bulk of experience, but of course he's more used to the Veloster, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a new car, is this actually, isn't it? The Elantra. So you know, getting a lot of seat time in the sim. You never know, that might help for any potential future races. I know that he has confirmed that he's going to be racing in the Hankook Dubai 24 Hours, so as Tyler, so congratulations on that drive in GT3. But yeah, he's certainly getting the hang of it. Meanwhile, look at that lead gap, that's come down again. Every time we look away from them, it just seems to get closer.
Yeah, and now this, well, becomes a more interesting situation now, because Simmons has a little bit of time to work with here. In fact, he's got about 5.5 minutes as they'll both head their way towards the line here. So Simmons might have a couple of opportunities before this race is done to try and get himself up into the race lead over Wolf, as he'll explore towards the outside of the track. They do cut into pit exit there to get that angle in towards turn number 1, just to gain that little bit of time, as now they wind their way through the first sector, and well, Wolf hasn't really had to do anything, all that much of anything over the course of this race so far, but now the defense is required in the final 5 minutes to be able to maintain this race win.
Certainly do, but you know, these drivers, they're on the limit. We've seen them on the limit all race long. As there's Evans in the gravel, and that's at the chicane. And Cameron, he'll not be happy. I think he might have got a little bit of assistance, perhaps.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Oh, he's on his own. I think he might have just clipped the curb wrong then. So this is through turn 1. Oh, he's got it. Whoa, he's way out of shape. So yeah, this is down at turn 3. Oh, that was always going to happen there between those two.
Yeah, the rejoin, not how you should rejoin, I think it's probably fair to say. But then again, momentum was carrying him.
Yeah, to be fair to him, you know, that there wasn't a whole lot he could do about that once he got onto the runoff into exit turn 1.
Sometimes your fate is sealed like that. You don't have all that much grip on the grass, especially here on iRacing, where it's a little bit more slippery than you would expect. But less than 4 minutes to go now. You see on these slow shots in particular into the heavy braking zones, you see the glowing brake discs. You can still see those glowing brake discs on the rear as well, indicative of a more rearward bias. At least if that's graphics, if the graphics line up with your experience, Paul.
No, you run. Oh, this is an overtaking opportunity into turn 3. Simmons up on the curb. But look at that Wolf running that wider line, just carries the speed out of the corner. But yeah, with this Hyundai, you really crank the brake bias back in this car to get the rear end swinging around. It's quite an understeery car is this one, so you get the brake bias really wound back, and it just helps the rear rotate and helps you around the corners.
Here we go then, 3 minutes left to go as Simmons just dives it into Taylor's at the very end of the lap there. You know he's pushing, and now time is starting to get a little bit low for him. Still no opportunities just yet. Immediately into turn number 1, but he hasn't been afraid of sending it in there, shall we say, for that Apex Racing team. The two Hyundais at the very front of the field at the moment. In fact, it's Hyundai P1, 2, 3 and 4. We've got Blake Neck in his Honda Civic in P5 at the moment. The highest placed Audi is
that's
Neil Ferrier. There's the mistake, as now Wolf is on the outside, and Simmons trying to take the position, leans on that car on the outside. Wolf out into the grass and hit a bump as well, and might have to fall in behind you. No. Simmons is giving it back.
No, Simmons has done the right thing there. He realised it was a bit rude how he bumped Wolf off the track there, realised that was the wrong way of making that move, and fair play to George to allow Wolf back forward. That's great gentlemanly driving.
Yeah, so battle is still on at this stage with less than 2 minutes to go, just a handful of laps, and Wolf has another life. Simmons, there has to be another attempt towards the end of this race. He's already almost just got past Wolf, but still, wasn't able to get it completed under fair circumstances, shall we say. So we'll get another one, perhaps, as he does seem to be the faster car in clear air at the moment, but still does not have track position. Wolf still needs to put up the best defense possible for the end of this race to be able to come through P1, but we know how good Simmons is.
Oh, Simmons, though, he ran a bit wide through the right-hander after the chicane and just got wheels onto the gravel. That just slowed him down just that little bit in the run-through railway down towards Taylor's at the end of the lap. But time is running out. You only got about 2 laps remaining in this one, Connery, so we've got about a minute left.
Another swing to the outside, at least having a look into McIntyre's, and that's a bit of lost time there for George Simmons as they head their way through Butchers and now through the chicane. And that's almost half a second lost there by George Simmons in just one sequence of corners. So Wolf, careful with pushing wide. That's another bit of lost time, and now Simmons can gain all that he lost on the way down in towards Taylor's, as it will be 1 lap to go, the final lap, when they come across the line.
Yeah, this is it. So George is on the prowl. He's hunting down Kira Wolf, but Wolf will not give this one up without a fight. If I'm Will Redford, I'm thinking, go on, you two, have a scrap, knock each other out. I'll take the win, thank you very much.
go then into turn number 1. Get up over that curb on the inside and the outside as well. Swing it into McIntyre now as Simmons. Well, that was one of his favourite places to try and attempt the overtake, but it is gone now. So where else does he consider a move might be possible? He gets a very, very good run here. Onto the brakes, into the right-hander, continues to close up, careful with the gravel on the outside and the dirt on the outside there as they head down the railway straight for the final time. Is there a lunge into Taylor's this time around? Leaning on the flashy light button, Simmons goes to the inside. He doesn't have the required overlap. Wolf might be able to come away with this as long as they get a good drive off the corner, and Wolf has, so it's Kira Wolf coming across the line to win round number 2 of the Touring Car Challenge here on iRacing, and a celebratory blow of the engine crossing the line.
What a tremendous stuff then. There's still battles going on further down, but what a battle at the front of your field. That was tremendous to watch the two of them. I thought there was maybe going to be a lunge at the end into Taylor's. Here's Lynn and Largo coming up across the line. The line comes up very early around here. And then Cullen Johnson as well. They were together as they come across the line. But yeah, tremendous stuff from the two leaders, and it's very easy after that contact that George Simmons made with Wolf for him to just say, that's racing, away I go, I'm going in the lead. But it takes a lot for a driver to say, no, that wasn't the right way to go about things. I need to give that position back and do it fairly. So hats off to George.
Yeah, it was a bit too much of a squeeze, a bit too much of an elbow barge, and Simmons realised that. Gave the position back away to Kira Wolf, and well, he didn't really have an opportunity past that point, apart from, like you said, a big dive bomb into Taylor's, which was slightly half-heartedly attempted, but still didn't come off, as maybe ruining the celebration a little bit there for Wolf, as they'll take the tow back towards pit lane. Let's go over your official race results then from round number 2 at Knockhill. Kira Wolf takes the race win by just under half a second back to George Simmons, with Will Redford coming home in a podium place as well. Lander de Potter in P4 with Blake Neck P5 as your highest placed non-Hyundai. He's in the Honda Civic. Tyler Maxson in P6 with Neil Ferrier in P7. Christian Wolfs will finish in P8 with Niels Oosterhoff in P9 with Wan Chi Lin in P10. Second page of results. 19 cars started. Most of them finished here today, as Emil Largo P11, Daniel Chandler in P12, Ian Manners finishes in P13 with Ben Cullen in 14th, Michael Johnson in 15th with Gabriel Couto in P16. 17th will go to Andre Pacheco, and P18 will go to Cameron Evans. Then Jamie Peters there at the very bottom of the order, P number 19 of 19. Well, we knew it was going to be a pretty interesting race here at Knockhill, and I think it kind of delivered, as it is, you know, the home of touring car racing. Of course, it is a one of the homes of touring car racing. I should give that qualifier. Maybe in Scotland it is the home, but it's you know, it's a track that tends to deliver this sort of close racing.
Yeah, absolutely. With the fact that it's quite a tight venue, there's lots of heavy braking zones, but it's still quite a flowing track as well. It's a tremendous venue. If you've never raced it here on iRacing, I do encourage you to get it. It's a tremendously fun track to even just do laps around. But some of the racing we've been seeing this week, not just in today's broadcasted race, but other official races as well, have been superb, and the drivers are loving this. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I you know, at least from what I've heard from you and some of the other people running in this series, it is a whole bunch of fun now, especially, you know, since it's not necessarily an Audi Cup either every week. Of course, you know, the balance of performance is going to mean which car is favoured any given week with the fixed setup is going to change. We know that, but at least there's some variety with the Hyundai and the Civic, the Hyundai Elantra and the Honda Civic coming in to things as well. And of course, when the open setup leagues start to get the ball rolling, of course, that's going to be a whole different ball game as well. And TCR Racing on iRacing certainly looking pretty optimistic at the moment.
It's given it a real invigoration, in my opinion. It's really bumped it up and given it a new life. The Touring Car Challenge was just seeming to be just quieting down a bit, and it was the regular people that you would see, myself included. And whereas this, it's just really given it a fresh energy, a fresh push that it needed, and it certainly has helped out. Of course, I'm looking ahead to the next few weeks. Silverstone National, now that is a track where Slipstream will be king around there. You can really have some close racing around that layout. And then the week after that, we head back here, but this time in reverse. It is an actual layout of this circuit, is the reverse layout, and it's certainly going to produce some different race. It is a different style of racing, even though it's the same track. But certainly tremendous fun that you can have in that. Long Beach later on with Summit Point, Watkins Glen with the boot, Oran Park. I mean, you don't really see Oran Park that often, do you? So it's great to see that with the south configuration. Lime Rock, I mean, that's a staple of iRacing, if ever there was one. Donington National is a tremendous touring car venue, as is the Alton Park Island layout. And unfortunately, we head out with Laguna Seca at the end of the season. But, you know, not some people like it, some people don't. I'm of the latter, unfortunately, for some.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot to look forward to here in the Touring Car Challenge on iRacing. And, well, you can get yourselves involved in these broadcasts as well. If you have a high enough iRating to be part of the top split of these races from week to week, then you can certainly have the possibility of, coming onto one of these broadcasts. Of course, it's the same 7:45 GMT time slot every single week that we're broadcasting this particular top split of the Touring Car Challenge. So if you think you're good enough, you have a high enough iRating, then certainly join us heading into 2022. That is basically the, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, I think that's the final broadcast for RaceSpotTV in 2021. I don't know if we're doing anything on the run-up to New Year.
Well, we'll have TouringCar Challenge next week, of course, on New Year's Eve.
Oh,
what a way to spend your New Year's.
I thought it was a couple of days afterwards. Okay, so this isn't the last broadcast here on RaceSpotTV for 2021, because apparently we're doing a New Year's Eve stream of this as well. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining us here on the Touring Car Challenge for round number 2 here at Knockhill. It has been an absolute blast, this one. It's a series that seems to have delivered both the times we've been here so far this season, and we've still got another 10 rounds to go, so you certainly don't want to miss it. Join us on New Year's Eve for 2021 for our actual last broadcast for RaceSpotTV for 2021, and after that, well, who knows what 2022 holds. But for now, from myself, Connery Manick, from my partner in crime, Mr. Paul Smith, we'll see you on New Year's Eve. Bye-bye.